Hello, everyone. I hope you are well. This is Elena Valdez, and I am here to do your child's reading, your Cancer child's reading for the month of November. I am recording this at the end of October, so it may have applied also in October, as well as the following month, which is December. And as always, time is fluid, and these readings are not bound by time and space. So whenever you stumble upon this, that's when it's for you. Okay, so let's start. So we're dealing with the Cancer child, little Cancerians. Also, I'd like to remind you to please subscribe and comment or like the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you. All right, so let's begin with, I've already pre-shuffled the cards, by the way, but I always like to do a little more in front of the viewers just so that you see that you're getting a good, fair reading, right? So the Cancer child. So we start with the question, what is your Cancer child experiencing in the month of November? And again, this is for the guardian, parent, grandparent, or whomever is charged with taking care of a Cancerian child. What is your Cancer child experiencing during the month of November? I'm not sure if that one flipped or if I if I had a clumsy hand. So I'm going to put it back in the deck, and don't worry, if it's meant to come out, it will. It always does. Anytime a card is meant to come out, it will come out again. So what is the Cancer child experiencing during the month of November? And you have two cards here. So you've got Death and you've got Three of Cups. All right, so we'll set those there. And of course, we're reading this from the context and the perspective of the child, right? So keep that in mind. As you can tell, I chose a deck that would really line up well with the child vibration. So I hope you enjoy it. And my other question is, what are the challenges that your child may be facing during the month of November? What are the challenges, Spirit? What are the challenges? What are the challenges? All right. We've got two cards. We've got the Empress and we've got the Queen of Cups. Very nice. Okay. And final card is, what does your Cancerian child need most from you during the month of November? I always feel like this is the most important card in the spread, right? What is it that your child needs most from you, the parent? Because this is the part you can control, right? So let's see. What does your child need most from you during the month of November, or when you come across this reading? You have some resistance. I'm feeling a little bit of resistance happening. So that could be either way. That could either be coming from you, the parent, or the child. I'm going to take this card. Queen of Swords. Yes. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So you've got Death. Aren't these cards great? And you've got the Three of Cups. How fun is this card? Right? So right out of the gate here, I see that your Cancer child is experiencing some pretty big transition here. However, the transition that your child is experiencing is pretty positive, right? So you have the Death card, which is all about, rites of passage, perhaps going from one grade level to the next. That's highly indicated here. So you can have someone perhaps going in from, let's say, preschool into first grade, which is a huge transition, right? Because technically that then starts the grammar school, depending on where you are in the world, right? I'm talking specifically, that's how it's done in the States. But of course, wherever you are in the world, it's going to be determined by that system there. But this can also indicate, like, for example, if it's a little older child, it could be moving out of middle school or junior high into a preparatory school or high school or what have you, right? But in any case, even if it's not a grade level, there's a transition here. Um, and I'm getting even the transition to a new neighborhood where perhaps they're going to be meeting new friends, new neighbors, or even moving into a household where a cousin lives there, maybe some other new playmates will be living there. There's a move here, there's a transition. And the reason that this transition is happening, you see the white rose there? For me, the white rose and the way that this little guy is offering that white rose to these little older monster here. For me, that symbolizes needing to make peace with something or someone or a situation or a circumstance. So this transition, right? Because we have two perspectives. We have your perspective as a parent and guardian, and we have the perspective from the child, how they are viewing the situation. So it's twofold, right? So the rose here indicates making peace with someone or making good with a situation. So that is the catalyst here that I'm seeing for this transition. Now, the child may not necessarily see that that's the reason for this move out of your previous home or move into the current home or neighborhood or school or what have you. But the catalyst to that transition had something to do with making peace with someone or something, or finally forgiving a situation and moving on from it, right? Because you see this little guy is like, here, I just want to give you something to make you feel better about the situation. Okay. But here is what your child is actually experiencing. That's a whole lot of jolly and a whole lot of fun, yeah? So this is great. So although, I often talk about this during my readings, how sometimes as the adults we experience something to be maybe not beneficial or maybe sad or inconvenient or just maybe not the best thing that we want it to happen. However, your child may not necessarily be experiencing it that way. Like your child may actually be experiencing it like it's a good thing. Like they're not even realizing the hardship that we are experiencing in the process or that we assume the child is experiencing. So we need to keep that in mind, that although you may be thinking that this transition is going to be harsh on your child, and it may be for good reason. Your child may initially be showing signs of not wanting to move away, especially little Cancerians, right? They're pretty set in the home structure that they become used to. And they usually are creatures of habit. However, at the same time, while there are creatures of habit, they are also a cardinal sign. So new beginnings are very positive for them at the same time that they may think they may not want that. So although initially you may experience a little bit of resistance, and remember, I was feeling a little resistance during the shuffle. Okay. And that usually what we come to learn as readers is that the circumstance of the reading very much symbolizes the reading itself or the sign that we're reading for. So for example, if I'm having difficulty speaking during a reading, there's something related to communication pertaining to that specific reading, right? In this case, there was difficulty shuffling the cards. There's resistance. So that means that that's something, that's spirit letting me know, making me aware that that is a thing, or that's a theme. So you may have been initially noticing that your child is resisting, or it might be in the flip. Your child may be experiencing that from you somehow. But at the end of it, whether initially there is this fear of transition or not, or the unknown, the outcome is actually pretty great here, right? So that's something to keep in mind as you go through whatever this new thing is that you're going through this month. Okay, so let's move on to the challenge. So you have these two beautiful cards in the challenge position, right? The Empress, to start off with, ruled by Venus here, also symbolizes or can symbolize Libra and Taurus because it is ruled by Venus. Venus is all about contentment. It's about beauty. It's about creating. It's about being open, heart-wise. It's about having all the tangibles, right? It's also about creation, right? Because traditionally the Empress is pregnant, right? In a lot of the original tarot decks, right? So it's about giving birth to new creations and creativity, being in your full essence of who you are. And the Queen of Cups is very, very similar to the Empress in that it's also about being firm in who you are and strong and creative, because the Queen of Cups is all about expression, right? It's all about, it's a water sign, and it's all about being open to love, and but also being aware and alert, not just falling to any whims, right? Like it's a very stable, sturdy queen, as well as the Empress. The Empress is very queenly as well, right? I would say even beyond queen status. And so when you have these two very stable gals here, or creators, I should call them, or emotional archetypes here, when you have them in the challenge position, this tells me one of two things. Number one, either your child is having a difficult time seeing you, the parent or the guardian, as this individual who has it together, or B, they're having, and or they themselves are having a difficult time remaining steady in this energy. But I'm going to be quite frank here with you. I'm reading it and I'm sensing it the other way, the first example that I gave. I feel that the challenge that your child's really facing, basically you need to be the role model, right, during this transition. However your child sees you behaving, right? So the Queen of Cups doesn't lose herself, or she doesn't lose her temper. She doesn't lose her way of speaking. She doesn't lose it, right? She's balanced. Her temper is not an issue, unless of course it was reversed. Then we have one of the angriest queens perhaps. But what this tells me is that the challenge your child is facing is maybe not seeing you, and maybe it's not even you, but whomever. There might be another person involved here that's not actually watching the video, but that you know of, that's involved in this process or transition with your child, that's not keeping it together, that's not actually being in this zone of, I got this together, honey, don't worry, we're going to do this, we're level-headed here. So that could be one way that this can go, that the adults in this little person's surroundings needs to get a grip, right? Be in this energy. You need to, because remember, this is the challenge. So what we're saying here is that we want to be in this energy because we're not currently in this energy. Okay, so that's how this is going to apply for some of you. This is one group of guardian parents, right? The other way that this can be is that this transition, although joyful to your child, is making them a bit erratic and unstable and unable to focus on creating and unable to express their affection and love. I really, really feel that it's the former more so for the majority of you watching. There may be a handful of you that it's the Cancerian. If anything, actually, I just really heard this loud and clear. You could be sensing that although joyful, you may have a child who's even more vulnerable and more sensitive than usual, and maybe a little scattered in emotion and needing you to stabilize that emotion a little bit, yeah? And also make way for their creative. So you're going to know what this is for you. In some households, this situation is going to be both the parent not keeping it together and the child maybe being a little bit more vulnerable. Some would call it needy, although I really don't like that word, but I'm going to use it because some will understand that better if I use that word. So you may experience your child a little needier than usual, more vulnerable. And just be aware if you feel that your child shuts down. I mean, that's a big sign, right? With Cancerians, that's how I know. Um, me personally, I'm dating a Cancer, so I know that the minute there's a little bit of shutting down, there's something there that needs to be talked about, right? It's how they deal with stuff. Not every Cancer, of course, but a big majority I've observed and witnessed that this is a thing. So the signs, your child will give you the signs. And once they go into that mode, you can easily, be aware like, okay, I need to be more affectionate with this child at this moment. So you're going to notice that it's going to be, I'm feeling a lot of flip flop right now, even as I speak. Because remember what I said earlier, the circumstance of the reading always informs the theme of the people experiencing this reading, right? And so I feel like you may be experiencing a lot of flip flop, a lot of joyful moments, and then a lot of, oh my God, I'm feeling so needy, I'm not happy moments. And that happens with transition, right? As you're learning your new routine, whether it's because you moved or you have a new neighborhood or a new classroom or new friends, like you flip flop a little bit as you're, I kind of think of it like when you're docking a boat, right? As you're docking the boat, it's really, really bumpy, right? It's bumpy, it's shaking. That's usually if you stand up, you might fall. But if you get through that initial shaking, it stabilizes eventually once it gets put into a slip, right? And that's what goes on with these changes. But you're going to notice some mood swings, and I'm getting that it's also from the parents. So some of you parents of the Cancer child, may yourselves be Cancerians. I'm picking that up because you have all this water energy, or both parents, or guardians and parents. You might have a lot of water signs. I don't normally bring up signs in my readings, but in this case, I feel like I need to because I feel like it is a thing for a lot of you watching. Okay, so that's the challenge, something to be aware of. And what your child needs most from you is the Queen of Swords. So it is interesting because the Queen of Swords has got it together. The Queen of Swords has mental clarity. The Queen of Swords is stable. She speaks her truth. She says what she means and she means what she says, and you better not mess with her, right? And please disregard gender. This is not gender based. So this could be he, she, they, right? But I'm just using she just for, to easily access the energy. But it does make sense that you would get this as what your child needs, because then it also confirms to me that there are some of you who are not in this energy of stability and clarity and level headedness, right? So what this says to me is that your child needs you to become leveled and balanced and be clear about why you're doing what you're doing, why you're saying what you're saying, consistent about relaying the message of why this transition is happening. Your child needs to see that you are firm, that you're strong, that you're stable, and that you are balanced. That is so, so important. Um, I'm already at the Cancer reading. I started with Aries, and this is the first time out of the first 4 that I have recorded here that I really get this sense that I really need to be repetitive about how much your child very, very much needs this to come true. Your child very much needs you to stabilize yourself and gain some better clarity, and also being firm in terms of whatever it is you need to be firm about with your child. It's okay to be firm while also giving him or her whatever verbal accolades they need, or reassurance, I should say, because really that's what it's about. And remember, you have the tools. Okay, the sword here, it's about power. You stand in your power. You have the tool. You have whatever this huge transition is for you. You know, some of you are going through divorce, right, which is causing you to move. Some of you are experiencing some familial breakages here. I don't know, is that a word? Or breakups, or some severing of relationships that you are going through. And so it's important, obviously, you want to give yourself the space to mourn and grieve, and at the same time, allow your child to see that you are stable and strong and clear. Okay. So let's move on. I hope I didn't just sound all scoldy, because that's not at all how I mean to come across. The edges here. Not at all. There's never any judgment in my readings. I'm here to support you, and I'm here to be of service to you. So let's see. This card, this next position is advice from Spirit. Advice for you, the parent, guardian. And usually the advice card is tied into the challenge. Like usually that gives you the how to deal with the challenge. Not all the time, not always, but usually that's what ends up happening. Somehow it relates. So what is the advice for the parent, guardian of the Cancerian child during the month of November? Remember, this advice is in relationship to your Cancer child. What is the advice? Not too many. Too many. I just need one. Maybe two, but one. What advice do you have? Nice. Oops. The King of Acorns. Isn't that gorgeous? And the keywords are optimism and innovation. 100%, yes. So the King of Acorns, this is the king of fire. Okay, the King of Acorns. So this is about really physically embodying and mastering your self-control. Okay, but it's also about taking action, right? The King of Acorns is all about action. And yes, is optimism. So when I look at it in relationship to the challenge here, and just in relationship to the entire reading, it's really about you expressing, physically expressing, outwardly expressing your self-control, your ability to innovate, your ability to create, and your ability to start over, because that's what this is about here. There's a big theme about starting over. Shedding the old, moving into the new, gaining access to your power, right? So the King of Acorns, when it comes up in advice, it's about allowing yourself to innovate, allowing yourself to look at who you are as a manifester, and knowing that you have all the tools within you to not only get through this and survive this, but also to thrive in the new transition and successfully come out of it the other side. And not just, you didn't come out of it as a page, you came out of it as a king. And the king is a master of his themes, right? So in this case, his themes are innovation, optimism, creativity, creating, physical endurance. There's something here that I'm picking up, that part of this move may have something to do with someone's going to be near doctors, specific specialty doctors that are going to help you in whatever it is that you specifically need. or it's going to help your physical well-being. Maybe where you were living before you couldn't breathe as well. Maybe you had asthma and now you need to move into a climate that will allow you to breathe better. What have you. Of course, it's going to be different, right? So you'll have to fill in the blanks for me because, these things are too specific. But there is a physical endurance, physical strength that this transition is going to give you. And so the advice is to stay focused on that. Stay focused on the reasons that you took this action, right? Because the King of Acorns doesn't regret the reasons they did something. They endure transitions and heartbreak and, the next, the severing of relationships or career or money, home. They endure it and then they come out of the other side successfully. So trust yourself, trust the reasons that these changes are happening, because this will help your little guy's confidence as well. Okay, so let's just remember, it's okay, whatever your reasons were. There's no point in beating yourself up for it or having regret. Okay. And your little one's going to pick up on that. Your little one's going to pick up on the self-mastery that you will embody and this self-confidence that will come with forgiving what needs to be forgiven and forgetting what needs to be forgotten, and also moving away from what you needed to move away from. And in the end, it looks like it's for the betterment of all involved. So congratulations for that, and congratulations on your bravery and being bold and whatever this is, because you're all going to come out better at the end for it. So good job, you. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. It got pretty heavy, pretty quickly, pretty intense. And so, but my heart goes out to you, and I wish you all the best in November, and I hope you come back next month. Thanks a lot. Bye.